everybody. Welcome to episode number 4. Last time we talked about how do you get your first project manager role. And today we are going to talk about networking, why it feels so scary, some common mistakes I see, and then how to network effectively, even if you are a self-proclaimed introvert. And yet again, we have the amazing Nada Bhuhendi here to facilitate this conversation. Welcome, Nada.
Thank you, Kayla. I am so excited about this topic because both of us keep hearing this. I don't have a network. How do I land the right role? And it can be tough. It can definitely be tough if you don't know the right people. So I'm really excited because you have a phenomenal story in terms of how you've done this yourself. If you haven't listened to the previous episodes of Kayla's stories, I invite you to watch them. And Kayla is the perfect example of someone who did not have a network in the project management space and has created an amazing, amazing network that opened doors for her. So maybe give us a quick, backstory of how you were able to achieve that and how you went from zero, not knowing anyone, to getting to where you are today.
Yes. And I love this topic. I'm so passionate about networking because, like you said, I went from zero network to a very supportive, amazing network. So I know the power of it and what it can do for you. After I got my first project manager job, I was there for about 9 months when I got put on a PIP. And that's when it really hit me. Oh my God, I have no network. I have no one to help me. I am truly on my own. I don't have anyone to ask for help. How should I handle this situation? No one to help refer me. I had nothing. And I was able to leverage a recruiter to get my next role, but from that moment on, I promised myself I would never, ever be in that situation again where I had no network. So the first thing that I did was to create a mastermind. And this is a small group of people who get together every so often. We do it twice every other month. And the main goal is to just support each other. Now, here's where this got really scary. I had to find people to bring into the mastermind, and I didn't know anybody. And I just started DMing people on
Oh my
LinkedIn
God.
and just cold outright saying, hey, I see that you're in the legal operations space, which is where I am. I'm putting together this group of people. Here's some information. Would you like to join? And Nada, when I tell you I reach for the stars, I'm not kidding. I reached out to directors, to
Wow.
VPs, to people who literally wrote the book on project management in legal. And where I was, it was just so painful. Like I was willing to accept the pain of people saying no, because
Mm.
where I was just, I couldn't handle it anymore. Like the pain behind that was just too real. And I was so pleasantly surprised because so many people said yes. And because of that, I mean, we've been doing this for 3 or 4 years now. Because of that, I have this amazing group of people who I'm close with, who I can talk to, who would give me referrals. I would refer them. We're just very, very close. And there's a lot of things I've done outside of that to build an amazing network, but that was the very first step that I took. And that was probably the biggest needle mover.
Wow. Well, I'm curious because a lot of people feel like they need to be born networkers. Were you always that way in your entire career, even before you got into project management and you were a cake decorator? Was it like coming from a non-corporate world where you were interacting with people constantly that turned you into a great networker? Like, what is your secret sauce?
I was not a great networker at
Really?
all. I mean, hence why
Wow.
I had no network, right? Because I wasn't doing it. I would
Hmm.
just, go to work, do my job, come home, hang out with my friends, and that was kind of all I was doing. But here is the thing. You don't have to be born a great networker to be good at it. Even introverts can be very, very good networkers because here's what they're good at. they're good at depth, they're good at listening, and they're good at follow-ups. They're also very good at process. So introverts actually build trust faster with people. But being a naturally born like, good networker, is just really not a thing. It really comes from being curious, being
Mm,
consistent, and then following through with people.
yeah, that makes sense. It seems, counterintuitive, but it definitely makes sense because people like it when you are making them feel heard versus talking at them, right?
Yes,
And when you're
absolutely.
asking the right questions and you're getting to know the person, they're going to feel like you care. And I find you're right when I reflect on the best, relationships I've had that were super deep. A lot of them were with people who are quite introverted. Now, we're not
Yeah.
saying that if you're extroverted, you're not going to be a great networker, but maybe one thing to keep in mind as an extrovert is that you need to tone it down a little bit and not just make it about
True.
yourself.
Yeah, true, true. I mean, this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making
Mm,
when they're networking is just coming at people really, really fast and
yeah.
pitching in the first message or, asking for big advice or big favors when someone doesn't even know you. That is that's a big red flag in
Mm.
networking. The most effective way to do it is give before you get. And before everybody says, well, I have nothing to give. Yes, you do. What you have to give is your time and your attention and your questions. People
Yes.
love talking about themselves. We are social beings. We are designed to help and interact with each other. So when you come to someone and say, hey, I noticed that you're a project manager at X, Y, and Z. That is so cool. What is your favorite project that you've worked on while you're there? All of a sudden they get to talk about something that they enjoy talking about, and you can keep asking questions, you can build rapport. It's a much easier process than you would think when you take the I just want something out of them immediately out of the equation.
Absolutely. And when do you advise people to start networking? I find it kind of funny when people, tell me like, "Oh, I want to first build my resume and do all of these things, and when I'm ready to look for a job, then I'm going to start reaching out to my network." What do you have to say about that?
Yes. My favorite thing to say about this is to dig the well before it is dry.
Mm,
Because when you're thirsty, that's too late to be digging a well,
yeah,
right? Start now. Start before you need it. And I think it's so easy for people to not do it until they absolutely must, and then they feel desperate because it's very, very scary to
yeah,
network. And
yeah,
here is why. It actually makes so much sense when you understand why it is so scary. Your brain treats social rejection like it's danger, like it's legitimate danger. Because if you go back, way back in our caveman days, we lived in tribes. Tribe was life, literally. And if you got kicked out of the tribe, if you did a misstep, if you got ostracized and you got kicked out, you would die. So your
wow,
brain
yeah,
is literally associating social rejection with death. So when you look at it that way, no wonder it's scary, right? But the reality is you're not weak for not wanting to network. Your nervous system is doing its job, and you just need to override it with for like love and understanding towards yourself, but some logic, a little bit of logic behind that.
Wait, so you're telling me there isn't a public blacklist for all the people who reach out to executives and then get rejected?
Not that I've heard of. I also love to tell my clients, like, what would you do if someone reached out to you and asked you for a little bit of advice? Like, would you put them on this, unknown blacklist that we're talking about, or would
Yeah.
you do your best to help them? Like, let's think about this from the other perspective. And a lot of times that really helps kind of reframe it from them for them. And I know that you don't want to look needy, and
Mhm.
a lot of people say that, right? I don't want to look needy. I don't want to look like I can't do it on my own, or like I'm using someone. Like, it feels sleazy. But the thing is if you come at it from this place of, let me show genuine interest in you. Let me contribute what I can from a standpoint of asking about you and trying to learn and understand. That's when it changes from sleazy to a real interaction between people.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. So it sounds to me like there are, three fears that people need to overcome. The first one that you mentioned is the rejection, right? I hear that a lot. I think every single one of us feels that way when they're embarking on a challenge that's outside of our comfort zone, right? And when
Yep.
we reach out to people whom we might feel a little bit intimidated, to reach out to, it's so normal to feel like, this imposter feeling, like the feeling that you don't belong.
Mhm.
This person's ahead of me, or this person's more experienced, or they're busier than me. Who am I to have a conversation with them?
Yes.
Right. And then the second fear that I'm hearing is this fear of neediness. Well, I don't want people to think that I am asking them for a favor,
Yes.
so they avoid it, um, and then it kind of becomes worse, like we talked about, right? Like
Yeah.
when you only start building relationships when you need that favor, it actually makes things a lot worse.
Yes, because then you come in it and you're desperate, and you do need to push for that ask that much faster, or your brain is telling you, I need to push for that referral. I need to push for that information. I need to push for this and that. And that is where it can start to, you kind of get into your own head about it, because you need something. And at that point, it's just a snowball effect.
Yeah, and then the third one that I've heard you, if I could summarize it, is almost like a status or identity thing that's going on. You almost feel like you're lowering, your level by kind of being the one who initiates contact versus hoping that people are going to come to you. And that's just not a good, way of approaching things in life, right? If you always let your ego get in the way, and if you always feel like you don't want to make fool of yourself, is I would think like I can't think of any successful person that I've heard in my whole life, whether it's a professional, an entrepreneur, who became successful by protecting themselves from
Yeah.
being a fool, right?
Yes, yes. I mean, if you completely keep yourself from failure, from looking like a fool,
Yeah.
from misstepping at all, actually the exact opposite of what you're trying to achieve happens, you often end up doing more damage to yourself because you're trying
Mm.
to protect yourself. Whereas if you put yourself out there, yeah, sometimes you might trip up a couple times. You might get a couple people that don't respond or say, "I'm sorry, I don't have time right now." That is okay, because as this happens, you're going to learn. And as you learn, you're going to implement what you learned and get that much better at it.
Yeah. So I know that you have a networking framework that you use to help people build relationships, expand their network so that they can get those amazing roles and opportunities. And honestly, when I think about it, it's not just landing a job when it comes to networking, it's even just finding the right mentors who help you grow your career. So, what
Yes.
is this networking framework? Can you break it down for us?
Yes. This is the three R's, or you can call it R cubed if that's better for you. So the first R is rooms, getting into
Mm,
the right rooms. And this doesn't mean physical rooms, it could mean physical rooms. It could also mean digital rooms. When I started this mastermind, it was a digital room, and which can almost be better. Now I know people all over the country. But identifying where are the people that can help you hanging out. Maybe it's a
Mm.
conference. I also love going to conferences. That's a whole thing that we could dig into. Maybe it's conferences, maybe it's LinkedIn groups, maybe it's Facebook groups, maybe you create the room. If we're talking about adding value before you ask for something, creating those spaces, creating those rooms, pure gold, absolute gold. The next R is reps, repetition, because this isn't going to happen just by, networking for one day and hoping that something shakes out. It's doing small daily actions, a few DMs, messaging someone here and there, remembering a birthday, reaching out. Even, it's okay to reach out to someone randomly just to say, "Hey, you crossed my mind. How are you?" Even if they came to your mind because, "Oh, there's that company. I want to work at that company. I know Sarah works at that company. Let me reach out to Sarah and see how she's doing." "Hey, Sarah, you crossed my mind," because she did. Just reach out and say hi. So doing those small actions regularly, consistently are really going to help. The third R is reputation. Your reputation, what you are known for. A lot of people who are listening to this podcast are probably going to want to be known as a project manager,
Mm.
someone who gets things done, someone who's a connector, someone who is great at dealing with difficult situations or calming difficult personalities. Like, there are certain things that you want to be known for, and that's what you build your reputation around. Whether that's externally when you're trying to find a new job, or internally at your current organization when you're trying to get promoted, because earning a reputation within your organization, a good reputation, is one of the fastest ways to get promoted.
Wow, that's a very comprehensive framework. And I love the 3 R's too. Easy to remember.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm so curious. Have you had a client who came to you and didn't really know how to network effectively and became a great networker? Can you tell us a story about them?
Yes. And to be clear, most of my clients who come to me are not good networkers. I have
Mm.
them do an assessment that, kind of says, where are they on the iron triangle in terms of credentials, experience, and network? And almost everybody comes in super, super low on network. So that is normal, and it's very common, and it's something that we work on together. I've had a few clients that get really, really good at it. Frank got good at it. Ryan got good at it. Chloe got good at it. They all got referrals and got a job that way. I would say the biggest shift that I saw in a
Yeah.
client was Frank, because he came to me just very dejected with his situation. And when you're dejected and lacking confidence, it's that much harder to put yourself out there for more potential quote unquote rejection from people.
Mm.
He got so good at networking, we had to start talking about which opportunities for interviews he was going to turn down
Oh
because
my
he didn't
God,
have
that's
enough
insane.
time to do them all. This is the magic of networking. And everybody knows that getting a referral, that's what moves the needle for you.
Absolutely.
It's not rocket science. Everyone knows that. What the challenge is, how do you leverage that and make it more repeatable so that you get those referrals more often?
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I'm just going to play the devil's advocate here, right? Because it sounds to me like you didn't just help Frank with networking. That's not the only thing that
Yes.
helped him become successful.
Mhm.
because I do hear a lot of people who share with me, well, I got friends, they referred me, but it just went to another candidate, or I got ghosted despite being referred to roles. So do you think that networking is enough? Like is that all people need to get into project management roles? What other things do they need if not?
Yes. So I love this question, and this just occurred to me. This what I'm gonna say next. Okay, getting a referral is like getting a golden ticket into Willy Wonka's factory,
Yeah,
right? You got your golden ticket, that's great. But it doesn't mean you're going to inherit the factory. And in order to inherit the factory, you need to be a good fit. And the only way to truly show that you are a good fit is to make sure that you can speak about your experience confidently and in a way
absolutely.
that is in alignment with what they're looking for. Without that, your network could refer you to a million places and you're not going to land a role.
Yeah, and that would be sad if you kept getting referred and wasting those opportunities.
It's a waste, right? It's such a waste.
And that is why, your clients really benefit from working with you, because if you are sitting here listening to this and you're applying to hundreds of jobs and you're thinking, well, if only I could learn how to network effectively, which is rightfully so. And Kayla's the best person to help you with this, especially since she's done it. She's gone into project management, moved up.
Mhm.
But that's not the only thing that you need to know. Because if you become a master networker and start, connecting with so many people and then bomb the way you communicate your values,
Yeah.
that's sad because you're wasting like once in a lifetime opportunities.
Yes. Yes. Literally. I mean, these can sometimes be once in a lifetime. That perfect job opens and your
Yep.
best friend from college can refer you. Like, do not waste that. Make sure that you know how to confidently speak to your experience before you get that referral.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a few questions from, the audience and questions that we've collected. One of the first questions that I'm seeing here is, I don't know any people in project management. I'm
Mhm.
in another industry or I'm in another role. How do I meet those people in a way that they would support my journey in project management?
Yes. This goes back to the 3R framework that we discussed. It's the first
Mm,
R, rooms. Where are these people hanging out? You can start with a few places, but the place I always recommend to start out with is, where do you want to work? Or what industry do you want to be in? Do you want to stay in your current industry? And that's fine because there's project management in almost every single industry. Or do you want to go to a different industry? Or, a company, maybe a company that you really want to work for falls within a different industry. Start there, find people who are project managers in that space, and just start connecting. Yes, on LinkedIn, cold outreaching, which can feel very, very scary. And to be honest, that's the like expert level of networking, is just cold
yeah.
reaching out to people. But when you start with, hey, John, I see that you're a project manager at X, not X like Twitter, just X, fill in the blank. Um, what kind of projects are you working on? That sounds really cool. So easy when you start that way. And maybe John's busy and he's not going to respond. That's okay. It's probably not personal because John is busy. Try someone else. Try a few other people. And I think, again, you would be amazed at how open people are to having a conversation when you just ask them a simple question that is about them. So finding those right rooms at conferences are also really, really good. Maybe your local PMI chapter is a good one and it's really active, or conferences in your space. I go to legal operations conferences all the time, and I do not waste those. I don't just sit there in the audience and take notes. I go talk to the speakers. I ask them questions. I follow up with them afterwards via email or LinkedIn. That's how you create real relationships that move the needle.
Makes complete sense. But what I'm going to say too, in listening to you describe this and just imagining myself or anyone else trying to implement this, is you can give all the scripts, in the world, and you can share with them, all your wisdom. But the magic happens when you have someone who actually gives you feedback in terms of how they're implementing those strategies. Because let us say, I remember at one time, I had a coach and I had this opportunity where I could go to a conference and meet, hiring managers in the roles that I wanted. But even though I learned the strategy, it was so valuable to have that coach on hand and just almost like, I don't know if anyone has seen that movie. I forget what it's called, but it has Will Smith and he's teaching this guy how to date. And he's whispering, Hitch, yeah. He starts whispering in his ear so that he doesn't make a fool of himself. So that he can say all the right things, in the meeting. And so I just want you to imagine for a second having Kayla, and being able to DM her and ask her like, hey, Kayla, what do I say next? This is what this person said to me, right? That is extremely valuable. So yeah, for any of you who are listening to this conversation, I really invite you to reach out to Kayla because you don't want to mess with these opportunities if they're once in a lifetime opportunities. You actually want to have an expert who guides you through this so that you don't end up saying the wrong thing and putting your foot in your mouth.
Yeah, 100%. And Nana, that does happen. People who are working with me, they'll say, "Hey, Kayla, I'm trying to network, but I'm not really getting anywhere with it."
Yeah,
And then I will look at, screenshots of what they're sending, what they're sharing, what's going back and forth, and I will offer some insights into how they could kind of switch and, change what they're saying to get a higher return on their investment for their time.
absolutely. And it sounds like it's not just networking that you help with, right? Because we talked in the previous episode, right, about your iron triangle and all the different aspects of your model that you help with, whether it is identifying the right role and whether it is, making them really amazing interviewers. I know that's also one of your superpowers. You are naturally, a great interviewee, and that's how you got your roles. So I invite you, if you haven't listened to those previous episodes, to understand all of the components of the model that Kayla teaches. Because, like we say in everything in life, it's not just one thing that helps you become successful, it's the entire strategy, right?
Mhm. Yes.
So that is awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kayla, for sharing all of your wisdom as usual.
Thank you, Nana, for being here. It was really a pleasure to speak with you about this. And for those of you who are ready to learn how to talk about your experience in a way that resonates with hiring managers, check out the next episode. We're going to talk about the experience myth and how you can break into project management even if you don't have project management experience.